Everyone, Oli here, and this is my review of The Armageddon Factor, the sixth and final story of the 16th season of classic Doctor Who, starring Tom Baker as the fourth Doctor. The Armageddon Factor is the 103rd story overall, it's 6 parts long, and it's written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. The Armageddon Factor is also the final story of the Key to Time story and the unofficial final 6 part of Doctor Who. Or if Shudder had actually completed the filming, then that would have been like the last 6 parts of Doctor Who. So the plot of the Armageddon Factor is as follows. The key to time is almost complete. With only one piece still left to find, the Doctor, Romana, and Kanan arrive on Atrios, a planet in the middle of a terrible war with its twin world Zeos. To restore the balance of the universe for the White Guardian, the Doctor must find the sixth fragment before the planets destroy each other. But Zeos is deserted, so who is behind the war? Armageddon Factor, in my opinion, I would say is one of my favorite stories from the Key to Time storyline, and is one of the best of the Key to Time season as well. I really enjoyed the aspect of the story and how it is definitely a huge improvement from the Power of Crow. But without saying, it does have its faults. But it's still a very enjoyable story, in my opinion. I commend the production that went behind the story. You can tell that there was a lot of effort that was made to make the story look good, especially like the war-ridden area of Atrios, in comparison to Zeos, which was basically like very much deserted, and it was quite clean as well. It was all because of the residents of Zeus have pretty much left the planet because of the war. The direction by Michael Hayes was very good, and the script by Bob Baker and Dave Martin was actually quite good. I definitely say is one of their best scripts they've written for Doctor Who. Even though they're not very strong writers, but then I think this is definitely one of their best stories. I know a lot of people don't really like these two fellas, but I think they are quite good writers. I mean, they did write the Three Doctors to be fair. I like the healthy balance of comedy and drama this story had, and it definitely this is definitely a story that definitely balanced the two better than the other stories in the season. I do like the plot. I think it was very good. But I liked the space opera feel that this story had, and I really liked how big of a deal that the six segments was in this story. Not in comparison to like other stories in this season where that segment was just an object to be retrieved, and by the end of the story, probably the Doctor will just remember it randomly before the end, and then the main plot of that story just pretty much overtakes looking for the key to time itself. An example of this would be the androids of Tara, and I think this is because they found the segment early and just pretty much sitting, in the laboratory. And I liked how the sixth piece was important just to not just to the Doctor Romano. It was important to the villain of the story, the Shadow, because he actually found the sixth heaven, but he was waiting for the Doctor to arrive at Atrios with the other five segments, so he can like ambush the Doctor and take the key to time with him to give back to the Black Guardian. And it was also important to Princess Astra and explain why she's important in a bit, other than the fact that she was pretty much the sixth segment herself. I like some of the other plot points that this story had, such as the war of Atrios and Zeos, and the people who are operating Zeos. They weren't actually people; it was just a computer, the main Metalis that was like pretty much operating the war. And the Doctor, and I also liked how the Doctor pretty much created like a temporary makeshift piece of the sixth segment to try and trap the universe in the time loop, so he can try and like grab some time and pretty much find the sixth segment and find rescue Astra and avoid the the shadow and find whatever was going on. It was a very good plot point, and that time loop was pretty much there for at least the remainder of the story. And it was also to prevent the Marshal from destroying Zeus as well. When in return, that would have destroyed Atrios. So it was quite tense. So as I said before, the final segment actually turned out to be Princess Astra, and that was a good twist in itself. And I liked how it was like implied slash foreshadowed that she was the sixth segment. And I think this is in like part 3 when Romana, I think it was the Doctor that found the tracer, and then it was like tracing, it was picking up readings from the bracelet she wore, and then that was pretty much an indicator that she was the sixth segment itself. So I find also so like that the final twist of the story was that after getting all six pieces, that the White Guardian actually showed up showed up in the TARDIS scanner, and he was asking the Doctor for the complete key to time. But but the Doctor realizes that this was the Black Guardian in disguise of the White Guardian, even because the way he pretty much the White Guardian pretty much dismisses Princess Astra actually being the sixth heaven. So the Doctor pretty much refuses to give it to him and disassembles the six pieces, and which obviously all the keys are pretty much returned to where they were taken from, or maybe they're in other places as well. But this pretty much included Astra being returned to her boo, and obviously he decided to set the randomizer to escape from the Black Guardian. And speaking of the Guardians, I liked how the Guardians were pretty much still a mystery at the end of this season, as it pretty much creates more of a mystery on as to the key to time. Did the White Guardian actually send the Doctor to look for the key to time, or was it the Black Guardian in disguise the whole time, or did the Black Guardian pretty much orchestrate the whole key to time segment all along? It's a very good question to think about. And I also like the biblical reference in part 5 when the Doctor is speaking to the Shadow, shouting at the Shadow, but he didn't see the Shadow, but the Doctor was like I will find you, and sort of shit like that. And then the Black Guardian was like, "We are walking through the valley of the shadow," which is obviously reference to Psalm 23. As I walk through the valley of shadow of death, and the Shadows planet pretty much did resemble the pretty much a valley of the shadow of death. And this was also based on the Cold War, obviously, which was obviously political tensions between America and Russia, and I think nuclear missiles were like being in play here, not used, but they were very much in play. And also and there was a very obvious Star Wars reference in this. Star Wars influence in the story of the Shadow, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the main guy. I can't remember his name. I think the main big bad. I think it was Darth Vader Superior. I'm not entirely sure, but obviously, Shep's outfit was actually resembling Darth Vader, and obviously you can obviously see the Princess Leia influence in Princess Astra and Leia's romance with Han Solo, which was pretty much shadowed in this story with Astra and Merak, her lover. And I also like how the number 6 was pretty much a theme in the story. Aside from the Armageddon Factor being the 6th story of the 16th season, the Doctor and Romana were looking for the 6th segment, and it turned out to be Princess Astra, who is the 6th princess of the 6th royal house of Dynasty, the 6th princess of the 6th royal house of the 6th dynasty. And I liked the moment when Romana actually realized this at the end of the story, I think at part 6, and the princess said this, and then Romana pretty much had the eureka moment, and she realized that the Astra was the key to time, was the 6th segment of the key to time. The story also has some very good moments, such as the cliffhanger of part 4, where the Shadow had actually turned Kanan evil to try and bring the Doctor, the TARDIS, the Doctor and Romana into his planet into a trap. And also like the argument that the Doctor and Romana had in regards to Astra being the 6th segment. I'll get more into that later. I thought that was a very strong piece in the story. And obviously liked the ending of the story. The Doctor was acting possessed to see the urge to tell Romana the urgency why they need to get this key to time back immediately. And obviously how the Black Guardian showed up under the disguise of the White Guardian, the Doctor seeing through that and disassembling the key to time, scattering them across the universe again, and obviously escaping from the White Guardian. And I also liked, obviously allowed America and Astra to reunite. And obviously I did think the part 5 cliffhanger was quite comedic, and I actually liked it. And I think this is when Drax actually accidentally shrank the Doctor, and then one of the Shadow's goons, who was called the Muta, was looking very perplexed. I mean, for part 5 cliffhangers, they usually tend to be like very tense, but I liked how funny it was to show that not everything has to be like all doom and gloom all the time. It was quite a funny thing, ending as well to that story. So on to the acting. I have to say that without a doubt that this is definitely one of the best acting of this season. Tom Baker was great in the story, and it's definitely a showcase of why Tom Baker is a very good Doctor. A great mix of comedy and a good mix of or comedic in a serious Doctor. And I think one of my favorite scenes from the Tom Baker era was when he was pretending to be mad with power. He was just like, it was a very funny scene when he was acting as if like, why stop it? Why go back to Gallifrey if the key to time you can do anything? And he was acting like very, very possessed. And obviously Romana was very concerned, but the Doctor would just shrug it off. And I liked how Romana pretty much just slapped his shoulder, saying, "You were just pretty much like, Romova, why the hell did you do that?" And obviously the Doctor was like, they did it because to explain the urgency of why they need to get the key to time back to the White Guardian. Maritime did a great job in the story. I do think this is definitely one of her strongest stories as well, and she does have a lot to do in comparison to the Power of Crow, where she was just there for the sake of the plot. And I also like the disagreement where she had with the Doctor in Part 6, and obviously the reason why they disagreed, that after Astra was turned into the sixth segment and we all escaped from the TARDIS, Romana realized that they pretty much killed Astra so they can like form the key to time, and they pretty much left Merak. And Romana said they were pretty much, her and the Doctor pretty much doing the dirty work for the Guardian, irrespective of like the lives of other people. The Doctor obviously agrees with her, but then he pretty much has it's all done and dusted. There's nothing we can do much about it, and obviously the Doctor's so used to Romana didn't like how very nonchalant he was, and then the Doctor pretty much reminded her, saying that she can't afford to be too distracted because the time loop was literally just about to disintegrate, and there was no way that they would have like lifted the key to time segment, the fake key to time segment with the real one in less than a second. And so this is also Mary Tam's final story as the first Romana in the story, well, first Romana. I don't think she liked the direction of Romana, how the direction where they were taking the characters. I think that's why she pretty much left in the story. But I'll say my final words on Romana, or both Romanas, when she actually departs from the TARDIS in Warriors Gate in season 18. Kanan was very good in the story, and I think this was the best he was ever written in Doctor Who. He does help out the Doctor several times, such as helping like Doctor was able to snap Kanan out of the Shadow's influence, and how Kanan pretty much saved the day by allowing the Doctor to like grab the sixth element and escape to the TARDIS. And also liked how Kanan was actually the one that was communicating with the Mentalis, the computers of Zeos. So I thought that was a very good use of K9. And I also liked how he was almost destroyed when the Marshal pretty much tricked him into like a furnace pit, and the Doctor pretty much had to go in and rescue him. K9 also does fall under the control of the Shadow when the Shadow pretty much lured K9 into a trap. So, and it was a very good story. I liked how K9 was written, and I liked how pretty much the Doctor and Drax were pretty much able to like repair K9 and restore him to back to normal. And our side characters, and I thought they were very good, to say the least, and I liked them. And I liked all of them. First off, we had Princess Astra. She's the sixth princess of the sixth royal house of the sixth dynasty, and one of the key figures in the war between Atrios and Zeus. She was pretty much like the Princess Diana of Atrios. And she was in love with Merak, one of the surgeons, and she was the sixth piece of the key to time. And she realized this was like she was destined to be like a part of the key to time segment when she realized that her destiny no longer lies with Atrios nor Zeus. And she chose to turn herself into the sixth segment. Well, obviously the Shadow was there, so she pretty much had no choice but to do it. She was played by Lala Ward, who plays the second Romana from the following season. And then after all six pieces are disassembled because of the Black Guardian wanting to take the key to time from the Doctor, she's reunited with Merak. I thought she was a very good character, to say the least. And then we have Merak. He's a surgeon and he wanted peace with Zeus, and he believed that if Atrios and Zeus make peace, then it will be beneficial for people of Atrios, so the planet can be peaceful. He was in love with Astra for most of the story, and he spent most of the story looking for her, and he does find her, and I think he was just very wishy-washy after that, and I thought he was an okay character. And we also have Drax, an old classmate of the Doctor's back at the time of the Academy, who reveals that the Doctor was known as Theta Sigma, but it turned out to be just a nickname, according to the Seventh Doctor. He was the one that actually assembled Mentalis, as he was pretty much told by the Black Guardian and the Shadow to make it, to create it, or he will die. He was a very funny character, also a very good character, but I do have an issue with Drax, and I'll explain a bit later. We also have the Marshal. He was the commander of War for Atrios on the War of Zeos. At first, he was quite standoffish towards Dr. Romano when they arrived in Atrios, but it was because he was actually under the control of the Marshal. He was actually working under the Marshal, and then at some point later on in the story, the Marshal goes up in a rocket with some other guy to try and destroy Zeos with some rockets, but obviously Zeos have their own fail-safe measures to self-destruct the planet, which would also destroy Atrios as well, and he gets trapped in the time loop, firing the rocket, but when the Doctor created that fixed sixth segment to try and stop things for a second, and he pretty much spends most of the story under that. So after the Doctor saves the day, he and Drax pretty much go into business helping people recover from the War of Atrios. He was an okay character to say the least. And finally we had Shap. He was the Marshal's aide, and he later assisted the Doctor when he used the transmitter and ended up on Zeos, and that's when they encountered Metalis. And I liked the bit in part 5 when he pretty much killed one of the mutes that was working for the gods for the Shadow, and obviously the mute actually injured Shaps, and the Shaps pretty much was flung back to the transmitter and ended up back on Atrios, and that pretty much injured him. And he had to return, and the reason why he was going back to Atrios was because the Doctor pretty much told him to tell the Marshal to call the attack off on Atrios, but obviously the Marshal didn't listen. So I thought they were very good characters to say the least. And the villains of the story. Our first villain was the Shadow. He served the Black Guardian, and he was also searching for the key to time. But he obviously waited 1,000 years as he located the sixth segment and was waiting for the Doctor to arrive in Atrios with the 5 other segments. He was the one that pretty much instigated the war between Atrios and Zeos, and he pretty much decided to pretty much place his home base in between the two planets, so either planet can't see each other. And he was pretty much controlling people like the Marshal, and obviously gained control of Astra, K9, and Romano briefly. And obviously, it was later revealed that he was basically like a puppet on the string for the Black Guardian, who pretty much planned for the Doctor to defeat him and destroy his planet. So after the Shadow dies, that's when the Black Guardian pretty much shows up as the White Guardian to try and take the key to time from the Doctor. And I thought he was a very good villain. He's very theatrical, very hammy, but this is a classic Who, and this is Doctor Who overall, so I didn't mind it, so to speak. And lastly, the other villain was the Black Guardian, who we see for the first time. He had the Shadow working for him. It was revealed that he was pretty much pulling the strings of the story and had the Shadow die. He also appeared as the White Guardian of the TARDIS, wanting to collect the key to time from the Doctor, but the Doctor pretty much saw through his plans, as he pretty much callously dismissed Astra's sacrifice in becoming the sixth segment, and the Doctor realized that the White Guardian would have actually noticed this and would have cared. And the Doctor pretty much refused to give the key to time to the Black Guardian. And obviously, the Black Guardian was furious and wanted to kill the Doctor, and pretty much received the Doctor on the run from the Black Guardian using a randomizer. And he was a very good villain, and I liked how he showed up at the very end of the story, and we get to see the Black Guardian again in the Peter Davison era, in the Black Guardian trilogy, which is a sequel of a sort of the Key to Time, where he pretty much gets the schoolboy in Vizsla Turler to try and kill the Doctor, which I think that trilogy is a very mixed bag, but I'll explain why when I get to those stories. So the problems I had in the Armageddon Factor, it's a brilliant story, but it was very obvious that it was padded out to try and make it a six-parter, and obviously that whole time loop thing was a good example of how it was just padded out. And obviously having like all the characters walk around the Shadow's home planet for like him part of it was very obvious that was just filler. So my other problem was with Drax. He was a good character, but I felt like he was just a plot convenience there to try and help the Doctor like save the day and recover all six parts of the key to time. Which was, but I think he does become like a more important character in like the expanded media of Doctor Who. I think they even explained. I think Doctor Wiki even said that the Drax this Doctor meet was Drax in his second incarnation. And lastly, I think the other problem I have with the key to time is that I think the conclusion of the story, yes, it was very brilliant, but it was just very anticlimactic to say the least. After the stress of finding all six segments, with Romana pretty much dealing with android doubles, giant squids, going through some sort of kangaroo court with some sparkling gems, and a psychotic parrot with a robotic parrot, and so to speak. And so they go through all of that just for the Doctor to like get rid of the other six segments because of the Black Guardian. It was a good idea, but obviously it was a bit anticlimactic, and it was a bit of a kick in the balls, to be honest. I do think they could have at least hinted at the fact that nothing was as it seems, but they did kind of do it in the Stones of Blood when the White Guardian was telling the Doctor to beware of the Black Guardian. So, as I was saying before, as who could the Black Guardian have sent the Doctor to the key to time? It could have been the White Guardian, but who knows? So to conclude this review, I think that the Armageddon Factor is a fantastic end to the key to time, even though it has there was some pacing issues and the ending was a bit anticlimactic, but it's still a very enjoyable story, and I gave the Armageddon Factor an 8.5 out of 10. So that's a wrap for the key to time. Join me where I rank season 16 of this. Join me as I rank season 16 where I'm ranking every story from the key to time. So thanks for watching. Join the links below. Join Discord, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and I should be seeing you later. Ta-ra!